All right, so we are back, and today truly was a day of reckoning for heavyweight boxing, for boxing in general, because if you guys didn't see, I don't know what you would have been doing, but today was Boxing's Day. There was no UFC on that was strictly focused on the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the boxing that went down there. One of the better cards you're going to see in boxing. You had Viejo on the card. He was fighting Lyndon Arthur. You had Jarrell Big Baby Miller and Daniel Dubois. That was a fun fight. Dubois had a great performance. You had Anthony Joshua doing his thing. We'll talk about that in a separate video versus Otto Wallin in the main event. But this video, you had the upset probably of the year. Deontay Wilder losing, just like I said he would, to Joseph Parker. Now, the people that don't follow me on Twitter, you probably didn't catch this. You probably didn't peep it, but I'll put it on screen. Your boy called this. I had this gut feeling last night, which, by the way, is 2 nights before you're going to see this video. Merry Christmas Eve or Happy Holidays, whatever you celebrate. But I said on Twitter that I started to get this feeling that Joseph Parker was going to beat Deontay Wilder because I had watched back some of Joseph Parker's recent fights. After his loss to Joe Joyce, I had seen a little bit more of an aggressive Joseph Parker. I'd seen him start to walk people down and become a bit more of a heavy puncher. And, well, on the other side of that, I'd seen Deontay Wilder, after 3 brutal fights with Tyson Fury, be exposed for the lack of boxing ability that he had. And that's not news to anyone. We all knew that Deontay Wilder was not the greatest boxer ever. And some people were trying to call Deontay Wilder an all-time great. Listen, I'm a fan of Deontay. I think he's an all-time great puncher, but as an all-time great boxer, he just never was that. That's not something you could ever consider him to be. And I think a lot of what we saw from Deontay Wilder today, without making excuses for him, was a 38-year-old off of a brutal trilogy. And yes, he knocked out Helenius, and fair play, that's what Deontay Wilder does. But in that trilogy with Tyson Fury, the gaps in his game were exposed, especially him on the back foot, trying to fight guys that were coming forward and putting pressure on him. He would lose his timing, lose his balance, and through those first 2, the last one would be lose that big power right hand and the ability to throw it with any kind of significance or combination punching behind. And that proved to be the case in this fight as well. From round 1, you saw Joseph Parker take center of the ring and force Deontay Wilder to fight a negative fight, force him to fight backward, pumping out his jab, always looking for the one right hand missile, which, to be fair, I think everyone thought at some point he's going to find that right hand. It's just going to be, how does Joseph Parker take it, and does he continue to stick with the game plan? Well, one of those 2 things happened. Joseph Parker stuck with the game plan. Deontay Wilder never found the right hand. He never really found any rhythm. He never found any offense because Joseph Parker had the perfect game plan to beat Deontay Wilder. The blueprint has been laid out from Tyson Fury. You stick a jab to his body, you stick a jab in his face, and you walk forward constantly. You don't allow him to relax. You don't allow him to get any sort of space. Use patient pressure. Inch your way forward behind feints, and then smother him with punches as you throw combinations forward. You don't throw one, look for the right hand. You throw like a newborn to a mother. You bury head in chest. And Joseph Parker did that for 12 rounds. Even in, I think, the 8th round, landing a hammer of a right hand, which, fair play to Deontay Wilder. I don't know how he took that shot and stayed on his feet. That was a brutal overhand. And again, it was thrown with bad intentions. It's not like Joseph Parker can't knock fools dead. He can. And this was complete domination from Joseph Parker. It was, one judge had this 120 to 108, meaning Joseph Parker won every single round, and the other 2 only gave Deontay 1, maybe 2 rounds at best. It was never close. It was never competitive. It was one-way traffic, and coming into this, very few people thought that would be the case. But my question is why? Because Deontay Wilder showed you who he was. And sure, as a younger fighter, even when losing fights, he always had that answer, right? He had that answer for Luis Ortiz. He had that answer in the first round for Robert Helenius. He even had that answer for Tyson Fury in their first fight, and multiple fights after that where he didn't win the fight, but he would find ways to put Tyson down in the later round. But again, he wasn't that younger fighter. This is a 38-year-old that consistently built his game off having the great eraser, as Teddy Atlas called it. That right hand erased all of the problems that Deontay Wilder presented in the places that he just was not a great fundamental boxer. That can only take you so far. Even at heavyweight, where, let's be honest, the skill, it isn't what it is at 175 or 168 or 154 or 140. It's not the same skill level as guys in the lower weight classes, but there still is a level of skill to maintain that top echelon in the world and to put on the fights we all want to see. Deontay was always teetering on being able to stay there What kept him there was the one thing he didn't have today, the missile of a right hand. I'm just going to say this because everybody thought that it was okay to let a fight build between Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua. It's cool. We'll build it and we'll do it in March. Like a lot of reports came out this week that they were already working on a deal for Deontay Wilder versus Anthony Joshua in March, Riyadh season. Well, I'm here to tell you, boxing never fucking learns. They do this all the time. Boxing politics will always give us the shit end of the fights we want to see. They should have made Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua for today. They should have made it 3 years ago. They should have made it 5 years ago. But no. Instead, we needed one more fight to build, one more fight to pique people's interest, like they weren't interested in Deontay and Anthony Joshua already. Now, granted, looking back in retrospect, Anthony Joshua would have killed this man because the Anthony Joshua I saw today was unlike the Anthony Joshua of the last couple of years. He was back in destroyer mode. The Anthony Joshua I saw today, hot take here, has the ability and the style, and I've said this for years, to beat Tyson Fury. I believe that 100%. So yeah, it's a fucking bummer when we see these fights that we could have had for years now, not just that they pushed it back a couple of months from December. We could have had that fight for years. Boxing never learns its lesson. It's shot itself in the foot once again. We say it all the time, but it's one of the reasons that boxing fans get so frustrated with the sport. Hopefully, Saudi taking over and paying ungodly amounts of money to see some of these big fights we want to see will change that in the future. But today was an opportunity to make one step forward and finally put on some of these big fights we wanted to see at heavyweight. And unfortunately, it took boxing in the direction it always seems to go. One step forward, 2 steps back. But I will say this, shout out to Andy Lee and the entire team behind Joseph Parker for a great game plan, execution of that game plan. And listen, if anything, Joseph Parker, who's still relatively young at heavyweight, he's 31, maybe gets that fight with Zhang, maybe gets the rematch with Anthony Joshua. I don't know. Maybe this is a star-building performance for him. It was a great performance from him. But the caliber of fight that we could have had with Deontay Wilder and Joshua, it's just unfortunate that we're never going to get that. I mean, maybe we will, but it just won't mean the same. But with that being said, listen, Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder is never going to happen, at least not in my opinion. And for Deontay Wilder, he was talking about how he's done ayahuasca and he's found peace in his life, which is something, again, that's amazing to hear. I don't particularly partake in psychedelics, but if it's found peace for him in his life, that's great. But as a boxer, when you start hearing guys talk about using psychedelics and ayahuasca and finding peace within themselves, and they lose that edge, they lose that ego, they lose that baddest man on the planet want and drive, it's over. It is. It's over. For Deontay Wilder, sure, there are fights out there at heavyweight. I'm sure he could still make the Andy Ruiz fight or find a way to get another 2 or 3 heavyweight paydays, but you're not in the game to win gold when you don't have that want, that ego, that I'm the baddest dude out here mindset, and it's probably time to retire. Because quite frankly, Deontay Wilder's only getting older. And while he's a dog, everybody knows that. He is a dog. In that Tyson Fury trilogy, we learned that. But in this case specifically, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Deontay Wilder is who we thought he was in very good ways, and as shown today, pretty bad ones. So, like I said, complete domination from Joseph Parker, and what happens next for him, what happens next for Deontay Wilder, I don't have those answers. But all I can say is I tried to tell you. The only question I have left is, will boxing ever realize that pushing these fights further and further does not get them to the end goal? And in fact, continuously kills their business? I don't have those answers, but I guess we'll find out.